xProfessor here from Rounding Some Corners, also on TikTok. And do you believe in a higher power? The higher power of marijuana? Because that word high is how most people describe what happens to them when they use marijuana. I'm getting high. It's what people say when they are looking forward to using marijuana. I'm going to go get high. So that word is the most common expression for using marijuana, and there's a reason for it, which we'll get to later. But for now, I want you to consider that that word high has also been detrimental to marijuana in terms of advancing it across the world as a readily accessible substance on par with coffee and donuts. Which is to say, you cannot buy marijuana in a drugstore. You can't buy marijuana at a convenience store or in a market, and you should be able to. You can't because the doxa of marijuana still exists. The doxa that marijuana is a dangerous drug. Remember, doxa is an area of so-called knowledge. It's so-called because we think it's knowledge. We think that the assumptions are intact. We think that the truths are self-evident. And we think that we're talking about it in a critical way, but we're not. We're talking about it in a way that just skirts the surface and only reinforces the doxa. So over time, doxas get set aside and unexamined, and they continue across generations. Unfortunately, though, doxas can be detrimental to society and human beings. Doxas such as slavery, doxas such as putting asbestos in people's houses, those practices existed for years before they were taken apart by critical analysis and done away with because of their harm. Now that's what we're doing with marijuana. We're trying to do away with the marijuana as a dangerous drug doxa, and we're taking on the high of marijuana, and there are 3 areas where marijuana is problematic, and that has to do with the high of marijuana. So let's talk about the first area, and that is the buzz that comes with marijuana as others see it. So when you have a group of people getting stoned, or even one person getting stoned, to others who are not in the know with marijuana, they can think of the people using marijuana as being slowed down because they hear their speech, they hear their thought process, they hear the things that the other people who are using marijuana are talking about, and they think they are distracted or slowed down in some kind of a stupor. They may even think of them as being more stupid because of marijuana. Well, when you take apart a doxa, you have got to offer counter arguments that are outside of the regular way of thinking. So here is what we're going to offer what is really happening when marijuana users are so-called slowing down to others. Because what they are really doing is they are asserting a higher power over their own clock. Now, I'm not saying that they are slowing down the second hand on a clock, but what I am saying is most people today live a frenzied life. From the moment you wake up until the last minute you go to bed, you are pressured by external forces to rush through your day, to compress your time. I'm talking about employers. I'm talking about people you're in a relationship with. I'm talking about friends. I'm talking about neighbors. I'm talking about the car behind you that's honking at you. I'm talking about your own expectations for what you want to get done in a given day. There just aren't enough minutes, and you seem rushed from beginning till end, not necessarily through your own volition. That's where marijuana comes in as a higher power. It rescues that ability for you to take control of your own day. And for that, marijuana truly is a higher power because it allows you to consider ideas more thoughtfully. It allows you to consider ideas more deliberately. It allows you to bring in other ideas, not just ideas that people who are talking to you want you to focus on, but other related ideas to get a broader perspective. That's what marijuana as a higher power is doing for you when you're seizing control of your own time. Now let's go into the second problem area for marijuana, and that is what many people describe as the paranoia that they feel when they smoke marijuana or use marijuana. Now, I've been using marijuana for 45 years, and I've talked to a lot of people, and some of them have described a fear that they get when they use marijuana. So let's analyze that paranoia or that fear from a counter-argument standpoint. What I would offer here is, first of all, we have been in a society for decades where marijuana has been illegal or at least restricted. And so that means marijuana users have had to hide their use and be afraid of being discovered or busted when they're using marijuana. Not just busted by the police, but busted by people who don't know what marijuana is about, who will think less of you if they know that you're using marijuana. So the use of marijuana has been cloaked in a kind of fear of, is the smell going to give me away? Is the smoke going to give me away? And then I'm busted. That has built into the so-called paranoia. But what I'm going to argue now is more to the point of what's really happening, because I don't believe paranoia is happening for most people at all. I believe that what is happening is actually self-reflection. And it could be deep self-reflection. Because what happens in self-reflection is you do take a look at yourself. And it is not always comfortable. You are examining decisions that you made that you wish that you hadn't. You are thinking about relationships you had been in that you wish that you hadn't been in, or ones that you weren't in that you wish that you had been in. You're thinking about opportunities that you've missed. That's very important when you're self-reflecting. It leads to self-development. However, if you perceive it as paranoid, perhaps it's because analyzing yourself is still uncomfortable to yourself, and you feel vulnerable, and you feel like a bad person. Well, that's where the higher power of marijuana comes in, because it is inherent to marijuana to go through this self-reflective process. So you do become very comfortable with it over time, and you start to embrace it. It is, in fact, what many people describe as one of the best parts of marijuana, is being able to reflect, being able to go inside themselves and improve themselves for the future, or at the very least, recognize mistakes as they are making them again. Even that is an important accomplishment that is achievable by self-reflection. But there is also a back end to that marijuana self-reflection, and that is appreciation, because when you come through the self-reflective part of marijuana, the marijuana high, appreciation usually results. Suddenly the world seems more opened up because you're more at peace with yourself, you're more at peace with the world. And somehow the world seems brighter, colors seem more vibrant, pathways seem clearer, choices seem easier. There just seems more balance. Now, I'm not trying to present some kind of fake, false utopia that marijuana doesn't really deliver, nor am I trying to say that marijuana is the only way that you can reach those kinds of self-reflections and self-discoveries and appreciations. But I am saying it is endemic, that it is inherent to marijuana to go through that self-reflective process, and therefore it offers a higher power. And now let's go on to the last area that's a problem for marijuana in terms of its high, and it is the use of that expression, higher power. Because everybody already thinks of it as an expression of religion. It's used in Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, for example, to have people feel comfortable with not necessarily accepting a specific God or a specific deity. The idea is to accept a power that is greater than yourself, to take control over something that you're having a problem with in your life that you don't have control over, like alcohol. So that's how higher power is used by religion. It is to acknowledge a deity that is up there. There's nothing wrong with that. Religion is certainly entitled to do that. And I'm not arguing that religion has nothing to do with marijuana. You have only to look at Rastafarianism, which embraces marijuana usage as part of its religion. What I am saying is that phrase, higher power, describes a lifelong world outlook. And that's what religion is. It's a lifelong world outlook. A lifelong world outlook allows you to consider what is meaningful during your existence. A lifelong outlook allows you to consider what happens to you after you leave this earth. A lifelong outlook allows you to consider what kind of conduct you should have while you're on the earth. All of these are accessible by marijuana if you accept the premise that it allows you to slow down your own clock through its higher power, that it allows you to self-reflect in ways that you can improve your own personal development and appreciate life better, and that it allows you, because of those two, to have a grasp on life that gives you that harmony and balance and allows you to go through life with a steadiness that you seek. If you accept all those premises of marijuana, then marijuana's doxa as a dangerous drug continues to go away, and you do recognize that when you're talking about the high of marijuana, it truly is a higher power. Marijuana is a higher power.